happened to my sister?
Welcome back to your nerdy show. I'm your host, Spoiler Master. After the shocking events of the first season, Sugar Season 2 begins by immediately showing us the emotional consequences of John Sugar's journey. The biggest revelation is that Henry is dead. At the end of Season 1, we discovered the disturbing truth about Henry. He wasn't just hiding from John. He had been involved in some truly horrific events. He had kidnapped and possibly killed John's sister Djen, and he had also stood by while Ryan, the son of a senator, committed terrible crimes. While the other aliens eventually left Earth and returned to their home planet, Henry stayed behind because he wanted to study humanity's darkest side. He wanted to see just how far humans could fall. But John stayed behind for a completely different reason. He wasn't interested in observing humanity. He wanted justice. For 6 long months, John tracked Henry across the world, following every possible lead until he finally found him in Myanmar. However, when John arrives, he discovers that Henry is already dying. Instead of fighting, Henry seems almost relieved that he doesn't have to die alone. But this creates a strange emotional reaction in John because Henry's death means something much bigger. John might actually be the last member of his species left on Earth. For a moment, John feels fear. He has always believed he had a purpose, a mission, and a connection to something bigger than himself. But with Henry gone, that connection feels broken. Then Henry mentions Djen, and John's fear instantly turns into anger. He demands to know what Henry did to his sister, but Henry either refuses to answer or simply doesn't have enough strength left. He dies before giving John the truth he desperately wants. John later begins thinking about what happened to Henry. He believes Henry might have forgotten who he really was and started seeing himself as human. Maybe that's why he became capable of things that were considered impossible for their species, including taking his own life. John burns Henry's body and everything connected to him. But before leaving, he takes a photo of himself and Djen from their time together at the Eiffel Tower. That small moment shows that even after everything, John is still holding on to his memories and the people he lost. When John finally returns to California, he finds a letter from Ruby. She talks about how painful it was to separate from him, but she also reminds him to stay strong and safe. She even renews his subscription to American Cinematographer magazine, a small but meaningful gesture that shows how much she still cares about him. But now John is completely alone, and the biggest question becomes, without Ruby, without his people, and without Henry, what keeps John going?
So it was a nice surprise when I got a call from an old friend.
John searches for a new purpose. Season 2, Episode 1 shows John struggling with loneliness in a way we didn't fully see before. He is still an alien with incredible abilities, but emotionally he is becoming more human. He goes to a park and secretly uses his telekinetic powers to entertain a group of dogs by levitating a ball. It's a funny but sad moment because John isn't showing off. He's just looking for some kind of connection. When the dogs are taken away, John is left alone with his thoughts. That's when he realizes how much Ruby actually meant to him. She wasn't just his partner. She was the person who gave him direction. She found the cases, guided him, and gave him a reason to keep moving. Now, if John wants to survive, he has to find his own purpose. While hoping someone will contact him with a new case, John receives a call from Munzer Amin. Fans may remember Munzer from the first season. He was the person who helped John when he arrived and even asked for help regarding his daughter Fatma. But this time, Munzer isn't calling because of his daughter. Fatma is doing well. Instead, he has another case for John. A young boxer named Danny Moon needs help finding his missing brother G Moon. G disappeared after leaving behind 2 strange voice messages. In the first message, Danny only hears G running downstairs. In the second, G says he encountered someone, and that person told him to run. The strange thing is that G didn't want Danny to contact the police. He believed that whoever was chasing him wouldn't stop until they found him. Before disappearing, G simply told Danny to keep training and reminded him that he loved him. John initially believes the story is not as supernatural as it sounds. He thinks the strange person G saw may have been caused by drugs or paranoia. But there is one possibility John completely ignores. Maybe G actually saw another alien, because John believes he is the only alien left on Earth. He doesn't even consider that possibility. He sees this as a normal missing person case, something Ruby probably would have told him not to take. But John needs something to focus on, so he accepts.
You see this guy? G Moon.
John begins investigating G's disappearance. Danny gives John a list of places where G used to spend time, and John begins searching. His first stop is an underground fighting arena, but he doesn't find anything useful. The investigation leads him to Mimi's billiards, where John tries to ask about G. The woman running the place clearly knows G, but she refuses to give him answers easily. John decides to stay around and learn more about the people there. He talks about his car, watches people play pool, and eventually makes a deal with the woman. If he wins a game, she tells him what she knows about G. If he loses, she gets to take his car for a ride. The funny part is that John doesn't actually know how to play pool. Instead, he relies on what he has learned from watching movies and somehow manages to win. It's another reminder that John is not just an alien detective. He's someone who studies human behavior and copies what he sees. But before he can question her, John discovers his car has been stolen. Outside, a mysterious woman approaches him and offers to get it back for $300. John agrees, and surprisingly, she returns with the car. The pool hall owner finally opens up. She reveals that G was involved with a woman named Hannah McDaniels, who works at a hospital. She warns John that G was in trouble and that dangerous people were searching for him. Back at the hotel, John tries using his alien communication device to contact someone from his own species. This shows that solving cases is not enough. John isn't only searching for G, he's searching for a connection, someone who understands what he is. Later, he meets a woman named Charlotte, who believes she has seen him before at a conference in Zurich. Their conversation is brief, but it suggests she may become important later.
Kept the drugs for himself and it's awesome we're having fun.
Maybe.
The truth about G and Hannah. The next day, John investigates Hannah at St. Anthony's Hospital. His natural charm immediately helps him connect with people, including a security guard named Blaine. John even recommends the movie Casablanca to him because the main character shares his last name. Eventually, John meets Hannah and asks about G. At first, she avoids answering, but eventually she reveals the truth. 4 days earlier, she and G planned a robbery at the hospital. They stole medication, but G replaced the stolen drugs with candy. The plan was simple. After the robbery, G was supposed to meet Hannah at a specific location, but he never arrived. Hannah believes G betrayed her. She thinks he sold the stolen medicine and disappeared with the money. But John realizes something doesn't add up. Hannah isn't lying. Something else happened to G. John goes to the place where G was last seen and searches for clues, but he finds nothing. The case becomes more mysterious because every person connected to G has a different version of who he really was. To his brother Danny, he was someone worth saving. To Hannah, he was someone who abandoned her. And to John, he might be the key to discovering something much bigger.
Father of Ryan.
John watches Senator Tyson Pavich. When John returns to the hotel, Charlotte approaches him again. But before anything can develop, John receives a message from someone called SPACE. The message leads him to a new home in the Hollywood Hills, a place connected to the legendary actor Humphrey Bogart. From this location, John can see the home of Senator Tyson Pavich. And this is where the story expands beyond G's disappearance. John wants answers from Tyson. He wants to know how humans discovered that aliens exist. He wants to understand what they know and what they plan to do with that information. In Season 1, John followed the rules of his species. He was controlled by the expectations of his people. But now everyone is gone. There is no one left to stop him. For the first time, John has complete freedom. And that freedom is dangerous because John is angry. He believes humans hunted his species, and now he wants to investigate them the same way they investigated him.
At once. It's a lot to take on, but I'll make time.
The ending explained. The episode ends with John watching The Harder They Fall, another Bogart film, while thinking about G's escape from the hospital. As he watches the movie, he begins comparing himself and G to Toro Moreno, a character who creates a larger-than-life image of himself. The comparison is important because both John and G seem trapped by the identities they created. They both believe they are stronger and more unstoppable than they really are. John is especially vulnerable because he has lost everything. He can't return home. He can't reunite with his people. His only connection to life on Earth is solving mysteries. That's why these two cases matter so much. Finding G and discovering what Senator Tyson knows about aliens are not just jobs for John. They are the things keeping him alive. John is terrified that if he fails, he could end up like Henry. He fears becoming someone who loses himself completely and has no reason to continue. But the episode also hints that the people around him may become part of his recovery. Charlotte Hannah, the mysterious car thief, and Mimi all seem like characters who could help John reconnect with humanity. Season 2 begins with John Sugar at his lowest point. He is powerful, intelligent, and nearly impossible to defeat. But emotionally, he is more lost than ever. The question now is whether solving these mysteries will save him or push him even closer to the same darkness that destroyed Henry.
I could end up like Henry.